I think comedy's in trouble. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I do think that Joe Rogan is the Antichrist and he's ruined comedy.
No, Joe's the man. I
Joe
love that guy.
Rogan is literally the Bert.
No. Nice try.
No.
You're not going to get me on a clip shaking my head to this. I am saying no. In fact, I'm going to say no in case you take the volume
Joe
out.
Rogan
in case you drop my fucking mic out.
Bro. He's a tiny little demon in a man's body.
He's the man. His club rules, by the way. And you want to talk about the guy opened up a club. He's not making money. He's literally running a socialist comedy club.
Bro,
I'm not even kidding you.
That man doesn't need money.
But that's what I'm saying. How many rich people do you know who the thing they love, that man loves stand-up, right? And he might have different philosophy than you about it, but he opened up a club, paid everybody through the pandemic, and now each spot, you get like $500.
Yeah, I know
so when you're a
people that do
young,
that.
struggling comic, you can actually pay your rent off comedy. It's literally the only place in the world you can do that.
I really had to start off with that clip because it really sums up the whole stand-up commentary community better than anything. I mean, we're talking Too Lazy to Try, Comedy Enforcement, Podcast Cringe, every other trash channel, including my own. Because take H3H3, right? He's just one example, but it really does apply to all of them. He has no comedic skill, but his videos were so funny. Like, yeah, when you were 14, you know what I found funny at 14? Tracy Beaker. I look back now and realize, oh, that's a depressing show. It's kids thrown into adoption, failed by their parents, society, and the system time and time again. And I'm there as a kid with a functioning family right behind me going, okay? And now I look back at H3H3 and I realize, oh, that's a borderline autistic man just acting silly while his handler is watching him. I mean, I kind of take it back. He did slap a little bit, but H3H3 of 2024 or 2020, or 2020, 2023. I feel like I'm doing it wrong. The present H3H3 only makes the most low-hanging jokes imaginable.
Joe Rogan.
In case you drop my fucking mic out.
Because all these channels have no humor or no talent for even being remotely entertaining. Like, this is important because as someone who's a bit of a historian when it comes to trashing comedians online, and it all started with Brendan Shaub. My first video was me absolutely stoned in my room bashing Brendan Shaub. I even did an AI animation of bashing Brendan Shaub. But the difference is, which is important, right? Those videos were funny. They had jokes. It wasn't about hating Brendan Shaub. It was more about just ripping into and roasting Brendan Shaub. We highlighted any clip of his rot brain trying to process a 4-syllable word.
My favorite people are like, who's this Joe Coy? How do you even get
that's
this?
the best.
I was like, oh, you don't know he does arenas, dumbass.
The best.
Like, oh, he's one of the top 10 most
but the thing is,
such a
guys,
pro.
profitable.
You have to understand, though.
You stupid, ignorant son of a bitch, dumb bastard!
We compared his CTE brain to cheese, sponge. Anything without protein will do.
There's no doubt he doesn't know about a 1 million view video comparing his brain to cheese.
We mocked his stand-up special where you just know all his comedic friends and anyone he's employed is just having a fun time reading the comment section howling with laughter.
Pretty much dedicated towards being like...
Yeah. They don't post like funny clips. They post just like him up.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about last week. How it's funny now that that's a whole thing in and of itself. Like, we're going to meet every day and just completely fucking try to tear this dude down. And, of course, they're razzing him.
Like, I enjoy Brendan. I hope he builds up the courage to release another special. And it's the same with my, anti-hate community video. I'd call myself progressive, but man, do I enjoy mocking the hell out of it. You can tell that these videos are basically made out of wanting to really make people laugh more than made out of hatred. And you just made that person the punchline of a joke. In fact, I actually think it started with Bert Kreischer in the Sober October, where Bert Kreischer would just get roasted by every comedian, because Bert Kreischer's a guy that can just easily build up some crazy false narrative in his own mind, and everyone has to sit there making jokes until they destroy his self-belief, and he just goes like, I am fat, I am an alcoholic.
That's all I want. Someone to go, God damn it, man, he's got delts.
He's got.
That's all you want?
I'm always gonna have the belly, I think, but just someone to go. He doesn't look that bad.
Can I discuss your belly real quick?
Please.
So it's always Tom and I have talked about this.
You look like a trans man that's having quintuplets.
But anyway, as I said, these channels possess no humor, no real talent for entertaining. And when you remove that comedy aspect, the comedic roast, it really just turns into just hatred and insults. It's like comparing like a friendship group. You have one of them where when you go in there, you get properly roasted with like some funny joke where you're laughing at how you're laughing and your ego's kind of in pain. And then you go to this other friendship group where they just insult you with the same line over and over again. There's no punchline or even an attempt at making a joke. It's just insults, and you're like, okay, this group is kind of autistic. Because I don't know, I loved the humor, I loved the roasting, and truthfully, that's why I kind of ended up watching these channels. And I just kept hearing their takes, and they were so bad. It was so like, Because take that channel's perspective, right? These videos get views, and there's no ifs, ands, and buts. So they keep doing it, and they want to have a good channel, so they have to post every 2 days. And when there's not enough drama, they really have to scrape the bottom of the barrel, and they'll occasionally create just this horrible negative perspective on a meaningless situation, pretending it's so much bigger than it actually is. And then they'll often paint the person in a darker light because, hey, the bigger the villain, the bigger the hero. And if you hate someone, newsflash, you're not going to enjoy their stand-up. I hate people. They can make a good joke and I won't laugh. Everyone's laughing and I'm there. It's not funny. But truthfully, they don't even care. The guy who even criticized Matt Rife even said it.
And I just don't really care. I don't really care. Do you guys like him? Like comment down below.
Commentary channels are just similar to that toxic C-tier friend who wants to be an A-tier, but instead of kind of getting cooler, being fun to talk with and hang out with, they just tear everyone else down until they're the coolest in a friendship group that's kind of been torn apart. I don't know, they're the dude that will put you down in front of a girl in the hope it benefits them. Because that's a commentary channel. They're a moral authority that persecutes and never helps anyone, as they're completely talentless. I can't put it in words enough. So their moral authority isn't for what's right, it's rather for what gets them ahead. Because the twist of most of these commentary channels is usually they're the bad guy. Like, here's an example. People mention Andrew Shultz and how he occasionally has this overinflated ego, and they go, he has an ego. Ew. Rather, he's a multi-millionaire. He's hanging with talented musicians, actors. He's being called a comedic legend in the comments every day. He's achieved quite a lot, where if I achieved that, you'd bet I'd have an ego. I've seen people grow a bigger ego for less. Or how he tries to be the center of attention. He's a comedian. Every comedian is trying their hardest to be the center of attention. Andrew talks about it openly, and it's a flaw, like no doubt about it, but it's also likely what makes them great. But does anyone really care that Andrew Schultz had a couple bad episodes where he probably, and then just like, and he was having an off day, so he wasn't very witty? No one really cares that he ruined a couple of episodes. You just stop watching it and you go. I kind of think, do we really need a 30-minute show or documentary on it with zero humor on such a roastable moment? And it's really odd when you watch these channels, because in one video they'll support him, like, yeah, Andrew Schultz, destroy him. And in the other one, they'll just completely hate him. And here's the thing, I've made a hit piece before. When you make a hit piece, it's disingenuous. Like, just from my own experience, you tend to ignore 95% of the good stuff to find that 1-minute clip in a 3-hour podcast that's an embarrassing moment. And then you just, like, highlight it, like, look at this piece of shit. I don't know, it easily becomes this sort of, like, Yelp review mentality. It's like, imagine this, right? You went to a seafood restaurant, but you don't like seafood. And it's got nothing to do with the cooking, but you leave a 1-star rating. You say, man, that cooking sucked. You get home and you watch multiple videos about how much you hate seafood and that restaurant. These channels engage in that Eminem quote, like, what's your talent? Oh, critiquing my talent, but with a lower class accent. Like, comedy for me and probably you, like, our taste has changed as we've gotten older. We've gone through different experiences, like mental states. Like, I used to hate Louis C.K. I thought he wasn't funny. Now I'm older, I find him very funny, okay? If I was a kid, I would not have found Tim Dillon telling me that my parents got divorced because of me funny. Now I find it very funny.
Mommy and daddy going, you know what? We're not into this anymore, and we're barely into you. Because that's what a divorce is at the end of the day. It's them going, we're so not into each other that you are no longer even uniting us. So they had a mediator, and a mediator just comes to your house, and your parents just argue at a dining room table over a collection of Beanie Babies or whatever they had. I remember my mother said that. She goes, well, who's going to get Aunt Gussie's table? And I'm like, hi, I'm 13, and I'm about to embark on a decade of drug use. Could one of you maybe check in, perhaps, while we're dividing up a table that has a market value of, at best, $75? I'm a living organism that you both have created. So could potentially maybe you find the time to check in on how I'm doing while you divide up all the winnings?
I mention that because so many people who watch these videos and hate are just people who don't understand preferences. So these channels are just like cultivating, creating and developing this like comedian hating community, which is just the saddest thing I've ever seen, or even let alone ever heard. A community that hates people who are just trying to make other people laugh. You loser. Anyway, let's go back to H3H3, another internet bubble that hates comedians. And you might think, what's the difference? Is it because they're not funny, or they had bad moments, which we've kind of all had in life, or they have flaws, which we all also kind of have? No. H3H3 hates Joe Rogan due to a difference in political opinion, the worst possible crime. Because politics isn't about politics, it's not about, oh, how can we make the world a better place? Let's both try and find the answer together. No, politics is just a disguise for what is essentially intellectual fighting, moral grandstanding, and social points. It's like, I suck at most things, I'm horrible to those around me, and I'm not very well read on anything, but I have a hidden talent of, I can fix world problems, and I'm actually a really great person because I support great ideas with persecution. That's every political person. It was never the coolest kid at school was into politics. No, it was the autistic dude or some fat girl, and H3H3 is both. So H3H3 has kind of done nothing but drag others down, dedicates even a whole episode to just dragging them down. He's only ever uplifted other successful people, and he tries to tear down Joe Rogan, who's talented. He's helped out upcoming comedians, book writers, athletes, STEM professors, and fascinating people on his way to the top. He's never really, and if so rarely, stepped on someone to be where he is. Where H3H3 would choose drama, Joe Rogan chooses friendship. So you kind of have these political people that hate him. You have people that kind of fell into the comedian hate train bus like me. Then you have others that will try to profit off any drama imaginable. And you kind of have people who have this weird thing where they just hate the Joe Rogan sphere, or that's what they now call it, because the idea is that Joe Rogan, or they're only successful because of Joe Rogan, even though they've all gone out and made their own unique shows and unique communities and unique audiences, and they just network and now and help one another. Just because you get a shout out doesn't mean you're going to be successful. Look at Brendan Shaub. It just means that you get a bit of a boost and then it's all up to you. And people kind of use that to diminish them. And I don't know why. What you should be paying attention to is wait a minute, why is Joe Rogan one of the best ways to actually find comedians? Oh, it's because TV shows aren't very funny anymore. And not many other people are going around trying to help other people out. And we're just going to be like, oh yeah, but Joe Rogan is only successful because of Joe Rogan. It's like, yeah, I wish there were more ways for a comedian to be successful too, my guy. Twat. I can't, I have to bring this up. They have Begal to say that cancel culture is fake. Okay, it wasn't long ago Shane Gills got cancelled. How many others got cancelled that we don't know about because they weren't big enough to have an audience that'll be like, yeah, you're not cancelling my comedian or this guy? And do you think these videos getting millions of views would actually cause a few people to find their tour dates and try get their gig cancelled? Do you not also think these videos that get millions of views creates a sort of negative social pressure to anyone who's a fan of that given comedian, where people now avoid checking him out, going to buy his tickets, stunting his growth and income? Also, one guy could make just £200 off a video on a topic he doesn't care about.
And I just don't really care.
Like, cancel culture comes in many forms. It's not just big media, especially when YouTube has actually been said to be bigger and more influential. Okay, it's not exactly a myth. You're literally running a channel that is, if anything, damaging a comedian. Believe it or not, it's like a multifactorial thing. It has many tentacles. Anyway, and I got one more irritating point that they've been making recently. We all know about the Cat Williams, where he went on the podcast. He exposed a bunch of high-level comedians for stealing jokes and kind of breaking their integrity. And obviously, you'd think Mr. Comedy Enforcement here would talk about the obvious thing, the joke stealing. But no, he doesn't. And it's a shame. It's an interesting topic because jokes don't get the same level of respect compared to, like, music. You can't steal a song. You can get in loads of trouble for stealing a song. You can't even sample a song without permission and usually paying the original artist, right? But when it comes to jokes, people don't really give it the same respect, and there's not really a lot of legal, say, things you can do. So a lot of it is kind of like social pressure from other comedians and the audience, right? That's kind of the only punishment we can give. Because I know comedy looks improvised, but it's really not. That comedian spent 10 years learning funny and then got his best jokes out of the previous 4 years, which he has spent ages perfecting to make a 1-hour special. And that's very average, right? People don't understand. Even an amateur comedian struggles to get a solid 15 minutes in a year. So if someone steals 7 minutes worth of material, I mean, that's a lot of time, talent, and dude. And then if they release it, which these comedians did on TV, Cat Williams' joke and along with other comedians' jokes, now when the original comedian tells that joke, it won't be as good because people have heard something similar before. It loses all its You steal it and then you kill it. Compared to music where you can kind of steal it, change it a little bit, and both will be good. And you can kind of bet if they've stolen one joke, they've stolen many. So they cheated people to make their way to the top, to earn money they didn't deserve. And now they're not even having to rely on their skill because they just have writers writing the jokes for the show. It's dirty. Because as like an amateur, maybe a white belt with yellow stripes or yellow belt, amateur comedian, I have like a sheet of my jokes. I have a little tier list going from S to C. If I had 2 of my S tier jokes stolen, I would flip out. I'm glad Cat Williams came out and called it out because a lot of people have been very quiet about it. I don't know. So it's a really interesting topic, but of course Comedy Enforcement wants the views and wants to please his audience. So he's only going to take this one segment.
Comedy Geist. That would be like me being on Joe Rogan. Joe don't want me on there. I need to be on Shannon. Joe got 6 comedians that never been funny. He want to push out.
Because obviously the Joe Rogan sphere gets views more than it would be, I guess, actually just, he didn't even have to do it. These channels, dude, they melt my brain. Like, he treats this drunk comedian who is just talking about comedians who have just stolen people's work to make it to the top. I'm annoyed. He knows it more than I do. Cat Williams has seen it and he gets to experience it. So he's likely a bit more annoyed than even I am. So the guy in his video goes, it's definitely a specific 5 comedians. He's thought this through. It's not a random number. I'm a guess. And look, don't get me wrong, okay? We all know one comedian who is definitely on that list.
No, read the Rogan one.
Joe Rogan. Joe don't want me on his show. Joe got 6 comedians that never been funny. He want to push out. Fuck you. I'm funny. He's one of my favorite comics, and I'd love to have him on. Joe said. We talk about him all the time. If he's down, I'll make it happen. Yeah.
People are DMing me. Go. He's talking about you. You've been on there more times than anyone. I went, I'm not on there for comedy relief. I'm there for my fight sides. There's no. But I'll tell you, he's not talking about me. He's talking about
Cat
the
Williams
comics.
But let's look at who this guy actually even picked. And when you see them, you realize each one of them has a very successful comedy special. Even Bert, for all his faults, has a legendary story joke. But are we really going to be delusional to the data? Are we really going to put Theo Von on the list, my guy? Are we going to put Tom Segura on the list? And even Andrew Shultz, all who have had crazy, amazing specials and get a lot of support? Are we going to put Tom on that list because he has a bit of a hatred for poor, regular people? And he even has, the canny response to call out other comedians for not responding. How can they not respond? Dude, it's a drunk comedian. Don't take every word a drunk comedian says seriously. Please. Joe didn't. He just said, no, I love you. I'd love to see you come on my show. Are we really going to get upset about something which you can kind of obviously prove is wrong? Like, must people be required to address every lie that's told about them and being held to 100% of their word? He's also competitive. He might just be trash talking other comedians who he kind of probably sees as competition because he's kind of old school. I mean, I don't really enjoy Cat Williams that much. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the dude's incredibly talented, but I just don't think he spent a lot of time around young comedians to appeal to 20-year-olds. I think he's appealing to 40-year-olds, which makes it even more cringe that they're sharing these like quotey memes like, my experience of you is my experience and you can't dictate that. It's like, you know, like you're a cringy gal on Facebook. Shut up. But is it really worth these comedians making an enemy over it, or just being like, whatever, and keeping the door open to a friendship, which is a lot better? Because to be fair, who wouldn't want to be friends with another comedian like Cat Williams, who's renowned for being one of the greats? I don't find him funny, but I'm never going to be able to say he's not funny. He does well. I mean, he can make an audience laugh more than I ever could. He's amazing. I'm too white to actually laugh at his jokes, I guess. It's kind of true. But these channels, really just like massive what's so sad is these channels just want there to be drama. They just want to harvest the views from it. And it's kind of sad that they kind of want there to be a bigger mess so they get more views. And it's just like, is that the message you're going to also send to your audience and the kind of standard? Because I don't know about you, but when there's drama, I ignore it. If you had like a bad experience with someone and then they go around telling everybody this warped story that really benefits their perspective, I don't care, because it's not even true. And to like respond would only elevate the situation that they're already elevating. Like, they're not that important, and the whole thing wasn't even that important, most likely, and it won't be in a month, so you know it's not important, right? And anyone who believes every word out of that other person's mouth, assuming it's like it's non-biased, it's like gospel, it's truth, they're not very important. Let alone the idea that they even wanted to get involved in the situation. They're really not important. It's like, yo, I'm sorry your life is so uneventful that this whole thing meant something. Like, most comedians, I hope, do ignore it, because it's kind of like, it's not so bad that you have to make an enemy. It's like, forget it, I say dumb stuff too. Anyway, I'm done with these channels, but saying that, I'm still going to react to them. Because, I don't know, if I do, I just want to make jokes. I might have to pre-watch it and actually just come up with some jokes so I can, like, lighten up the theme, show them how it's done, pay them some advice. I don't know, I just needed to get that rant out because it's been bugging me. But please subscribe, because, to be fair, truthfully, if I hit 1,000, I have a high chance of getting laid. I don't want to lie to you. It's not 100%, but it's a high chance. And no joke, I would do it for you, man. You better do it for me.